glittering image of Kenya as a fine state sporting nation. The whole benefit of pension is not available to our sports people. And that is why a lot of our sports people who retire from active sportsmanship, they live in penury. We've seen it with sporting giants like Kadenge, like our fine boxing hero Aruinge, who passed away the other day. And it's because there is absolutely no framework to take care of these sports people in their retirement. We have rogue agents who do not seem to pay any regard to the laws of the land. And I have reason to believe, from past experience, from information available to me, that they may actually be part of the syndicate that is drawing our sports people, special athletes, into these increasing doping cases. And so, should I be cleared to assume this office, I am determined to move with haste to start cleaning up this mess. Starting, of course, with the FIFA ban. If you cleared me, if I was to be sworn into office, my first morning in office, I would be on the phone with Mr. Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, to resolve the ban on FKF and Harambee Stars. I want to listen a lot. I would say that in my first 100 days in office, I would do a lot of listening. I want to listen to federations. I want to listen to sports people themselves. I want to listen to stakeholders so that we together can draw a roadmap to return sports to the pedestal it belongs. But most importantly, in line with the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, I would want to work with all stakeholders to turn sports into a huge industry that can help in resolving our burgeoning unemployment rate and also protect our sports people from exploitation, from the challenge of drug abuse, and the challenge of being able to live in dignity after retirement. Quickly to conclude the question of Madam Deputy Speaker, the Kasarani Sports Academy is something I'm familiar with because it is around the time when I served as minister here that we started the journey to put this academy in place. Regrettably though, this is a brilliant project that got stuck and has not moved much, but we have to elevate this academy to a point where it becomes a focal point for nurturing talent in this country, identifying talent, nurturing talent, and unleashing this talent onto the national and the global stage. I'm a keen follower of football. I'm aware, for instance, of the Clairefontaine Center in France, which is like a conveyor belt. It keeps churning out incredible talent. Talk of Thierry Henry, talk of Kylian Mbappe. You see players who have been nurtured at this French academy. We can do it here. And I would be very determined, should I find favor with this committee, to occupy this ministry, to put in place the measures to get this academy to the point where it should be. Mr. Chairman, quickly, to the point raised by the Honorable Leader of Majority of this House, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Yes, I'm familiar. I'm aware that at the time I served in this ministry, in fact, one of the biggest challenges was financing sports. And Mr. Chairman, my biggest achievement as Minister for Sports at that time was the enactment of the Sports Act. In fact, for the brief period that I was in this ministry, I took it upon myself to accelerate the process of enacting this law. And it is in this law that we provided for the establishment of the fund. But I left the ministry before the institutions established under this law were actualized, one of them being the Sports Fund. After the law became operational, there were changes. There was an amendment to this law, that spread the benefits of this fund and even renamed the fund from what we had crafted in the original piece of legislation. And it's now called the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund. And Honorable Majority Leader, you may want to know that under the regulations put in place by Treasury, 60% of this fund for the last several years has been going to healthcare. It is something which I believe government should take a fresh look at, because if this fund was intended to accelerate the development of the sporting and creative industry space, then the priority should go to providing support to those two areas. Today, sports is only entitled to 35%. And often I hear even those percentages are not remitted to those two important departments. And so it is an area that I would definitely pay priority to. And I would definitely engage Treasury and other departments of government in the spirit of collective responsibility in government to return priority of this fund to its original intention, so that we do not have cases where we hear our athletes arriving late in Oregon for important competitions, where you hear of incredible stories of horror of our athletes spending nights at airports because of mismanagement and limited resources. So yes, Honorable Majority Leader, this is an area that I'll pay attention to. My good neighbor and friend, Honorable Minority Leader Opio and I, what new thing could I possibly do if I were to make a return to this ministry? A lot of water has flown under the bridge in the 10 years since I was last at this ministry. But what gives me confidence is that I was part of the team that put in place the existing legal framework, the existing policy framework. I'm informed that the outgoing cabinet secretary has already initiated a process to revise these laws and the relevant policies. It is a process I would want to support, because the law is supposed to be living, it's supposed to be current, it's supposed to be relevant. So it's a process that I would want to support and progress. But we have also moved on greatly. Now we have a new government that is putting great emphasis on sports and the arts as a big driver of the economy. That is something we did not pay much attention to previously. I definitely want to pay keen attention to that. I did mention the Clairefontaine Academy in France. You could also add St. George's in England, which are centers of excellence. These are spaces which we want to learn from. And we have experiences here, by the way, Honorable and I, with history from people like Zgol in the 70s, Reinhard Fabisch in the 80s, who dared to do things differently, and we saw results in our sports. I am prepared to do things differently, and I'm prepared to listen. I'm prepared to run an open door policy so that together we can make a success of this. NYS, Honorable Andai, you are right that NYS is now in much better shape. When I was first minister here, NYS was part of my mandate, but then after I left, NYS sort of became a nomad. It ended up in all sorts of places, but it has now been returned to this ministry. And I want to assure you that the very good work that the current Director General and her team have done at NYS is something that I want to support and to progress the work of NYS. NYS is now a full-fledged statutory body. It is a full-fledged paramilitary unit within our security architecture. So the way NYS is operating is definitely different from before. And these progressive steps are steps that I would definitely want to look at. And Honorable Andai, being a good neighbor in Ugunja, I know that if I did not visit this facility in Rangala, I might not get passage rights to access my Dala down in Budalangi. So should this committee clear me, definitely I would be glad to visit the NYS unit in Rangala alongside other units to make sure that they operate in a manner that is beneficial to our young people. Finally, Mheshimiwa Mbui, I am aware of the matter you have raised of the two affidavits sworn by Mrs. Masinde and Mr. Malombe. And Mr. Chairman, I did file with this committee an affidavit in response to those matters. It is a comprehensive 21-paragraph affidavit. And I know that in the interest of time, I may not have the opportunity to go through this affidavit.
We have it.
But
we have it.
Yes.
So take half a minute on that.
Okay. Suffice it to say,
Robert, you've seen it, right? Yeah, okay.
Suffice it to say, Mr. Chairman, that number one, the report that is subject to the affidavits that Honorable Mbui refers to did really not investigate matters of the alleged bribery. In fact, Mr. Chairman, I have quoted verbatim a recommendation from that report appearing in paragraph 325, page 117 of that report, which says they did not delve into matters of the alleged bribery and referred this matter to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. And Mr. Chairman, I'm aware that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission delved into this matter and did not find it worth their time to progress it any further, meaning that they found the allegations nothing more than hot air. Mr. Chairman, significantly for purposes of this process, and I want to request you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee to give attention to the affidavit that I have filed. But suffice it to say that